This conference will now be recorded.
Warehouse. So to set up a resource monitor, this is what it is. Let's give the name of a resource monitor. Go to account tab, click using account admin, and then click on the account tab, click on the resource monitors, open create a resource monitor, and you can create as many as you want. And here name of the monitor, credit quota. Here I am giving verify. So this hypothetically we are trying to simulate to show you, but it's kind of difficult for me to simulate from 100 credits because the whole trial version is only 100 credits for me, right? And then do you want to create an account at the warehouse? I've selected the warehouse, and here you have all the warehouses. So I'm going to use compute leverage 3x. Okay. And if you want to have multiple, right, you can select multiple, whichever you want. So you can keep on selecting and just trying 3x. So this is the schedule part of it. So customize. Is it immediate and what is your time zone? Is it UTC time zone or local time zone? Immediate and resets when you want this to reset monthly, and when you want this to happen at this weekly or daily today, whatever, right? So you can set up weekly, monthly, yearly, or never ends on. And if you want to end this resource monitor, right, you can select a date as well. So you can say never. That means the cycle keeps on going. Monthly or whatever, daily, whatever the budget it is, it goes and checks, and if not, it resets to this end. And set it up. So to get the notification, right, you can go to the account preferences and whatever the email that you have given, right? Web, email, all, none. If you say all, right, I'm trying to set up the preferences. Where are these preferences? Here. If you click on preferences, you come to this particular page. You click on notifications, notify me by web, email, all, none. Right now this is none. I'll say none, all. All means you see notifications, right? You'll see a notification here whenever we get a resource monitor usage, and you get an email as well. Web is the one, this is what it is, web, and email is what email, you get an email. Okay. And then so where is my resource monitor? It's gone. My monitor credit code of monitor warehouse Excel schedule also daily. Daily is kind of I'm setting up 5 credits. Okay, and then you can have six what do you call actions and notifications. I think it's 5 or 6, I forgot. So and notification right here. 2, 3, 4, yeah, 6 total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then yeah, 5 of them. Okay, 5. So that means whenever I reach 60% of my credits use, send me a notification. Notify when 70, 80, 90, 100, right? I'll say 50. Whenever I reach 50% of my so that means we are giving a 5 credits at the quota, right? Whenever I reach 50% of my quota, send out a communication. Whenever I reach 60%, 70%, 80%, and then 90%. Okay, and then So there are two other actions what to do: suspend and notify. When it is not 90, right? I'll say 95. Suspend and notify. Suspend and notify immediately if it is 97. I can say 85, 90, 95. Are you able to follow me? Right?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
So this means, yeah, we are
Actually,
setting up notification. There are 5 notifications that we are trying to set up. One is whenever your quota reaches 50%, 60%, 70%, 80%, 85%, 90%, I am telling suspend, and 95% suspend immediately and notify. So what is the difference between suspend and notify and suspend immediately? Suspend meaning if there are any queries that are running on your warehouse, so it just doesn't take any new queries. Whatever the queries that are running, it lets the queries finish. Suspend immediately means whatever the queries that are running, right, it cancels, it aborts the queries that are running and then notify you. Whenever it aborts, that's gonna suspend the warehouse basically. So so suspend means it it leaves your queries to finish it off before suspending the warehouse. Suspend immediately means it goes, kills all the sessions that are part of the queries that are running in your warehouse and then suspend the warehouse. Are we clear? Okay. Now I
sir,
wanted
one
to.
doubt here that actually 90%, 95% is used actually, but still we can use it 5% and we can wait for that, right? I mean, our queries will be suspended and
Definitely,
still we
but
have
yes,
5%
you
of
still
credits we
have
have.
5. See, normally what happens when you're running on a 3XL, how many servers are you executing? How many
3x.
servers are there in 3XL? Yeah.
Uh, I think
This is an interview question,
64.
guys. They might ask you the
Okay.
64. When you're running on 64 horses, how do you precisely stop for 1 credit or 2 credits? For example, it might burn all of a sudden 2 credits. You can the 5%, if you have a bigger number, like 1,000 means how much is the 5%? If you're setting up for 1,000 credits, right? How much is the 5% per 1,000?
It will be 50.
50 credits. How many users will be working on your system? There might be about 20 to 30 users on an average. And 20-30 users running this particular warehouse because it's a bigger warehouse or you have set up. And then when can they burn these 50 credits? They can burn it on any day or they can burn it in 1 or 2 days. Depends upon the jobs that are being run. You have to be very careful when you're trying to set up this on your service account warehouse because for back-end jobs you create separate warehouse which are scheduled automatically. And if you set up and then jobs will fail and automatically if you want to fix those things, right, that becomes a big mess. You have to be careful. Okay. And then if you set it up the whole thing, running out of 50 credit doesn't take 3 to 4 days and you will get a notification. So it depends upon the volume, number of users, size of the warehouses, and number of warehouses that you are running, right? Reaching a threshold of 5 or 50 credits doesn't take much time. So that is the reason I have put 95. When we are talking about this one, the 5 credits that we have given, right? So whenever I do this example, all of a sudden it reaches 2, 3, 4 because 64 credits, it can burn 5 credits in couple of minutes. before even resource monitor identifying that I'm reaching 60%, 70%, 80%, 90%, 100% will be gone, will be done. So this resource monitor is like an abstract thing. You are trying to set up 1,000 credits. By the time when you suspend, you will end up with 1,050, 1,025. I don't know exactly. I cannot say that, but it depends upon the number of users, and the number of warehouses, and the number size of the warehouses that you are running, and the number of servers that are working load on the system. You might end up something similar, but there won't be any surprise. It doesn't go to 2,000 credits. At the end of the day, when you get a bill instead of 1,000 credits, you won't get 2,000 credits. You will get a bill of 1,000, 100,000, 25,000, 50, somewhere very little nearest to the budget that you have proposed now. Got it?
Yes, I got it. Thanks.
No. So now I have this one. I have set it up on. So once you create a resource monitor, I have an example for resource monitor. Okay. So you can create your resource monitor using web UI, or you can create your resource monitor using SQL. So I am creating the SQL. Credit quota 10 here. I have done it with 5. Frequency daily. Start timing immediately. End time null. I said never, right? Triggers on 90%, 80%. Okay. And once you create a resource monitor, right? You have to set up this resource monitor to a particular warehouse. Here we have already identified in the UI, we have selected the warehouse. If you go and then look at this particular thing, right? Right, and show SQL. This is the one. Here we are trying to alter it, but when we before creation, when we have seen that the SQL is going to be like this. Credit code of 5, frequency daily, immediately, on 40%, do notify, on 50, notify 60, 70, 80, 90, 85. So on 90, suspend immediate. So 85, suspend. 90, suspend immediate. These are the actions. So I'm setting it for a particular warehouse. Okay. So these are a couple of other things. How do you want to set? Okay. And then I have a couple of. So these are the grants that we normally use, because right now I have used in account admin. Normally you won't be using account admin for running setting up a resource monitor. There might be an admin guy who's doing that. How do you do that? Use role security admin. So I have created a user, and then grant usage and database, grant usage and schema, grant select on this particular thing, to this particular role. I'm creating a role. I'm just creating all this. So grant usage, modify, monitor. This is the keyword on warehouse. When you're trying to create a warehouse, we are trying to give usage, modify, monitor. On the usage means you can use this warehouse. Modify means you can modify the sizes of the warehouse. Monitor means you can suspend and resume, and then all kinds of look at the log and metadata of the warehouse to roll this particular role. And if you can grant a role to user and to sysadmin as well, and then you can set up your you can create a resource monitor and you can associate with a virtual warehouse. When you say monitor, you can have creation of the virtual resource monitoring on this particular warehouse, and then you can set up the quotas and everything on this. Okay, and then monitor the text. Yeah, so this is one example I'm gonna run. So I'm trying to create a blog, web blog table. So which holds all the click information. If somebody is logged into a web, and then if they click on any URL, you can log which user, which particular IP address can has logged into the system. You can track all the statistics of that particular thing. So this particular table is something similar to that. And then right now I'm just using the account admin because it's easier for me to show you. So this is the table row count greater than. Let me query this. Instead of creating a table, I'll get one row. So these are all random generation of numbers, starting with 102, 103, and I'm trying to generate some metrics in it. Okay, I'm creating a table one. Okay, and then I'm insert into web blog 102 until this much number. 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, millions, 10 millions, 100 millions, billions, 10 billions. So I'm gonna generate this many number, which will consume at least 5 credits. Maybe 5 credits is huge. I don't think it's gonna consume 5 credits. I think it might consume 2 to 3 credits. Let me go ahead and change it up. So Control V, and the warehouse that I have set it up is 3XL, right? Okay, and then I will go and change this one, edit quota to 2 credits. Accept change. Okay, and if I run this, right, it's going to generate 10 billion records and insert into this table. So, but this consumption of 2 credits, right, can happen anytime, because I'm using a 3XL and I'm running a query, and then there are 64 servers running on it. This is not a hypothetical scenario, but just want to show you how it looks like, how you can set up a resource monitor. And then I have set up the resource monitor on this particular warehouse and running, and if this query burns more than 2 credits, then my resource monitor will be suspended. But the notifications and all these things you will be seeing here. But as we are working on a very minute quota of credit, right, it's only 2 credits. By the time you reach 2 credits, it will be 50, 60, 70, 80%, 90%. And suspension, everything happens in a blink. Okay, so this is how it looks like. I have captured an image before. If you look at, right, my test RM was 20-50 times more than whatever. It burned too many credits, because by the time it reached there, 3x, I did this with 4x, and it was 1 minute ago. This many number of credits, 2,500 percentage of 1%. So it was way off the limit. All of a sudden, burning around 128 servers running, and then so it was not a hypothetical scenario to show you, but this is how you normally get the notification. And you can get a notification in your email as well. Whatever the email that you signed up to get your trial account, you can go check it out and you will see that. Okay, it's still running. 2 minutes, right? Hold on. In the meantime, let's go back. So we have seen this, right? Frequency, start time, end time, immediately, later, never, and all this stuff. And then notify and notify, suspend immediately. I have explained you 5 notification actions, 1 suspend immediate action, 1 suspend action. These are 2 many. And this is what it is. You can set it up on the entire account, the total number of credit quota, or on a particular warehouse, or on a combination of warehouses. Okay. I have explained this. So here, whatever may be, whichever is the initial. So even if the 5,000 is reached first, and this does not reach 100 credits, or these two does not reach 2,500 credits, then the entire account will, all the warehouses in the account are suspended. So whichever reaches first. Now we have set up these two, right? And based on these two, if 5 has spent 2,500 and 4 has spent nothing, but both of them will be disabled. Okay, and this is independent, right? So this is one. So when you set it up an account, all the warehouses of the account fall under that category. If not, it collectively looks at the entire credits for that. Okay, so I have explained you all this stuff here, and then this is important. This is an interview question people ask you. Okay, now you have set up, and then this is monitors and the warehouses are suspended. How do you resume them? 4 minutes still going on, guys. I'm not getting it. Let's see. I can go to this one. Usage. It was 19, right? And I did not push it. Let's see what I complete 3 Excel, right? This today it has spent already 5.44 credits. What is the time now?
Today 6,
9
sir.
o'clock. Today 6, but my time zone is APAC. Sorry, it is PST, Los Angeles time zone. So it shows in a different time here, right? Because of the account time zone. And the time
Okay.
is, let me see that. There are no notifications yet. Still running. It will consume all of a sudden. It would have burned 2 many credits. We'll see that. Okay? And what happens? How do you get back, resume your warehouses after suspension? You can the next interval, if so, you can wait until the next interval, and then the quota gets automatically reset and you can run on it. So you can go ahead and increase the quota for the monitor. You can go to the resource monitor, increase the quota, and the credit threshold for suspended action is increased. Now you told it still there is 5%. I can utilize that, right? And you can go and change the suspend immediate options to 100 rather than 95. So you can still use the virtual warehouse for 5% or whatever it is. And you can drop the resource monitor. When you drop the resource monitor, the quota, everything, whatever that we have created is gone. It's free to use anytime. Monitor is dropped, warehouse no longer. So you can see this is how. First thing, you can wait for the next interval. Number two, you can go ahead and change the credit quota. You go to this Yeah, now I have received, guys. It takes some time to refresh this here. Okay. Hold on, guys, one second. So, and then what was, so if you go to this account, resource monitor, the 4x report of it, right? It has to spend 5.44 credits, and then 4xl, 3xl, is the one that I'm looking at. If you go and look at the warehouses, whether it's suspended or 3xl started, it's running. Okay, it's not suspended yet. I use this X3, so like maybe it takes a while. Okay, let's see that, and then I'll go to the account, resource monitors. I can drop this resource monitor first, or I can go and edit the resource monitor, increase the quota from 2 to 3. I can remove the warehouse from the resource monitor. If you have 3 warehouses part of it, if you can take out the resource monitor, then that is not there. I can reset the frequency and stuff. If it has been set up for daily, right, you can make it up as never. You can go and change it to never, or you can see whatever, or you can go ahead and now here it is 95, right? You can change it to 100, and then you can use the other 5% of the quota to resume, or you can go and drop the resource monitor. Are we clear? Okay. So create resource monitor, alter resource monitor, show resource monitor. These are the DDL commands. Privileges. Create, by default, it can be created by account admission. Therefore, can only be viewed and maintained. Monitor, modify. You can go and monitor and modify the warehouse. You can associate your warehouse. So notifications. Go to preferences that I have shown you here. How do you create from web UI, account tab, quota, whatever I have shown you how to create the resource monitor is part of this. Okay. And then the same thing with the custom schedule. Okay. You can modify. We have seen, right? You can go click on it, or you can go ahead and modify using the SQL command. Set create quota to 3000. I have the create SQL commands also as part of the text file. I'm going to send it to you as well. Okay. And, so how do you assign a warehouse? If you want to add a warehouse or remove a warehouse, you go to the same resource monitor, select, and then remove or add kind of thing. Okay. Resource monitors can be created by account admins only. You should be, there is a role that has been granted the modified privilege on the desired. So if you, I have forgot, there is one more privilege that you can grant, so that as a custom role as an admin, you can go and create resource monitor and then modify the resource monitors. But those things you have to do using the SQL part of it. From web UI, you cannot do, because if you want to go into the web UI resource monitors, you have to have the account admin privilege. But most of them use SQL to create, modify, alter, and everything. So from web UI, you cannot do, because the account tab has the record resource monitor. and you should be account admin. You are able to follow me, right? So this account admin, account tab, and resource monitor is part of the account tab. So without the account admin, you cannot see the tab. So if you want to modify, the GUI is not there for you. You have to use SQL to modify and all. Are we clear? See, I got 6 notifications and 3 Excel is suspended. These are the notifications. This one. 488%. So 2 credits, 64 servers is too much, right? So I got these notifications as well. If it is a bigger number, right, makes sense. It sends you a warning and you can play for it, plan for it. 2 credits, 5 credits. I just want to show you how things work. That is the reason I set it up. Okay.
Okay, sir.
That is pretty much about resource monitors. Okay. And then so let's get into another topic. Security part of it. So when we look at it, right? So the brands, see the quota sequence of monitor. So this is done. Okay. Let's talk about which one shall we go. Let's go into the security part. Probably gonna take some time. Let's work. Okay. So there are different levels of security in Snowflake. Security plays a very big role in Snowflake because it's in the cloud and it's in the public cloud, right? So if it's in the public cloud, then you should have a lot of security on top. Okay. So you have network security and you have authentication. Single, so how do you log into the account? Single sign-on, multi-factor authentication, OAuth support, SSO, and all this. The single sign-on is called federated authentication. And then you have object security. Object security is something like you manage your objects using role-based grants, privileges, everything is object security. And the other one is data security. Data security is like encryption and how the data is encrypted, how do you change the encryption keys, and the other, if you are having your own keys for the encryption, how do you do that? And that is called the data encryption. So there are about 1, 2, 3, 4 layers of security that's part of Snowflake. So the first one is IP network. So when you're working in the environment, right, these things, so network security, especially you'll be working in tandem in coordinating with your network admin because you don't know what IP addresses to be whitelisted, what IP address to be blacklisted. So what is whitelisting? That means you are allowing this. So whenever somebody is trying to reach your URL and then it looks at the IP address and see if it's part of the whitelist IP address that you have given, then it allows to connect to Snowflake. If not, it doesn't allow. Or if you have to blacklist some of the IP addresses, you can blacklist. You can blacklist a range from this particular range to this particular range. You can blacklist the IP address. Are we clear? So as part of the training program, right, I'm going to show you multi-factor authentication, and the single sign-on, you need a paid account. That means the single sign-on can be done from, so when you set up an Outlook, you have Active Directory, right? I don't have the Outlook set up for me, and you can get it from Active Directory, or you can, there are other third-party identity providers. They are called identity providers like Arta, Ping, and then one login. There are a couple of them. So you have to pay them. There's no trial account that you can use. You have to pay them, and then you have to set up the details. Okay. So I can show you how to set up the multi-factor authentication, but single sign-on federated authentication I cannot show you as part of the program. But normally what I do, right? After couple, so I did not show for the previous batch as well, and I have a couple of other folks that I have trained independently as well. So I normally create, when I'm now setting up the single sign-on by signing up with a paid account. Once I am done, right, after the program is done, I'll send out a communication to you guys. You join in the weekend, and then I'll explain you, show you all the steps. How do you set up a single sign-on with Active Directory or something, and then you can understand how things work out. Okay, are you able to follow me?
Yes, Shekha.
Okay. So how do you set up the network security? So you can create a network policy, and then how do you create a policy? In the policy, you can allow IP addresses as a range. So it right now it only takes IP. So there are two types of IPs: version 4 and version 6. So if you go and look at your command prompt and then say IP config, so this one is V4. The numbers that you can read is V4. This one is V6. We normally use V6, V4, sorry, V4 for doing our network, setting up the network policy. And where do you set up the network policy? Same account tab, or you can do it with security admin. Okay, this is, see, security admin also has resource monitors, and the quota is done, and then the suspended, this is what it is. So in the security admin tab, right, you don't see this usage part of the billing. No authorization. It is banned for security. That means it's not allowed for security. You can see the other details: users, roles, policies, leader accounts. Everything is can be accessible to security admin. Okay, and then policies. You can create a policy using account admin, or you can create a policy in security admin. Normally, we'll use it to create security admin only. Create name of the policy, my network policy, and allowed IP addresses, and then blocked IP addresses, comment. So whenever you're trying to create a policy, make sure that the IP address that you have connected is not part of the blocked IP addresses, because you have connected to Snowflake, and you have, so you can create a policy like 192.168. What is it? This is the IP address, allowed IP addresses. Show SQL Create network policy, my network policy, allowed IP list, this one. Blocked IP list, nothing. And I can finish. See, once the network policy is created, right? Make sure the IP that you have connected from falls under this list. Okay, and then you have to activate this policy. Once you activate the policy, then only the what you call the policy gets activated, and the IP, whatever the IPs that you have set it up, right, that comes into picture. And you don't know the IP addresses to be whitelisted or blacklisted. You have to work with your network admin to get the details and then set it up. Are we clear? So I did not activate it. I just showed you how do you create, and I can give you. Okay. So that's what it is about network policy. So you can give a range 10 to 24. That means 100 to 255, something like that. That 100, 101, 102, until 255, 255. So there is, it's more of networking domain area where the CIDR or the ranges or anything, if you want to do it, right? You talk to your network admin, he'll give you the white listing and black listing, and then you're all good. Okay. How do you create a network policy? Creating a network policy, create a request. So the SQL I have shown you, right? Use role security admin, alter account set network policy, create network policy, show network policy. Describe network policy. So you can grant the network policy and account to role, whichever the role you want. To activate a network policy, your current IP address must be included in the allowed IP address. If not, you cannot come back and then log into it. Your Snowflake application. Okay. And the other one is like you have to activate uptime. Okay, that is the network part of the policy. Now let's look at multi-factor authentication. So multi-factor authentication is like apart from your username and password, you can have an app and you can read the passcode from the app, or you can get a push notification from the app. That means the moment you log into the app, you would have got a notification to allow whether to allow. I have a request to log into this, but do you want to allow or not? So that particular thing. So for this, you have to download an app, and this particular app is provided by Snowflake, free of cost. Snowflake strongly recommends that all users with account admin role be required to use MFA. MFA is multi-factor authentication. Whomever has the account admin role, they should be allowed to have multi-factor authentication. But in the corporate environment, everybody will have an MFA because they want to make sure we have another layer of authentication whenever you are logging into the account. So how does it work? This is the MFA login flow. So the MFA is supported. There is another app called Duo, and this is provided by Snowflake, and this is not Google Duo. This is Snowflake Duo. So the moment you log into Snowflake, and then it comes to the app, it sends a push notification. Approved your path push notification is the first one. If you don't want to do that, click enter DO passcode. It whenever you click on the DO part of it, right, it keeps on every minute it keeps on generating a new passcode. You get the passcode and enter into it. Or you can ask for an SMS and it will send you an SMS of the passcode. You can get the passcode and enter into it. Login successful. and you can use single use passcode in so these by SMS and login service. For these two, right, whenever you enter passcode provided with DO app. So this one is the moment you open an app, you will see the what do you call it, the passcode that gets generated every 1 minute. You enter them, you will see this. This is you receive an SMS, you see. So this is how the multi factor authentication works, and how do you set up. You have to download the DO app, and then uh, one second. So active DO mobile on your mobile phone. The moment, let's go and do this. This is done here. Preferences, you see, right? Multi-factor authentication. Not enrolled. Enroll in MFA. For your user, you click on enroll in MFA. Set up the DO. You see like this. Set up the DO. And then start setup. Mobile phone recommended. What type of device are you using? I'm using a mobile phone, a tablet, or a landline. Continue. What is your number? India. I'm using my number 84. Okay. 1 second. Okay. 8431757270. You have to go to your Android Google Store or Apple. You have that store, right? What is that in Apple? So where do you download the apps in Apple Store, right? So go to the Apple Store. Is it Apple Store or something else? And then the correct number, continue. So enter. So I'll get call me or text me. For the first time, I get a message. So I got and my verification code is 246413. Verify. Continue. So this is my Android number. I just added. Can you see this? And then, so when I log in, what should I do? There are three actions. Ask me to choose an authentication method. It will ask you which authentication method you want. Automatically send this device a DO push. Send me a DO push. Automatically call this device. I don't want to call this. I'll just say choose my and continue to login. So the moment it will show you whenever the moment you log in for the into your Snowflake account, right? This particular dialog will pop up. What do you want to do? So because you have chosen, ask me what to choose. If you have already chosen, send me a push notification. It won't show you this particular pop-up. It would have sent you into your app on push notification. So I am telling, send me a push. So I am opening my DO app in my mobile. I've done it long. So name of the app is DO Mobile. For Google, you will have DO, D-U-O. This is called DO Mobile. And when you look at it, right, request waiting, and it will show you Snowflake, AWS India, authentic. So it tells you from which particular region that you are getting this request. I approved it. I'm logged in. Okay. So if you don't have the app for the first time, when you install the app, it shows you what do you call this barcode. You can scan it. Sorry, no, there. Chanageshwar, there are no resource monitors for storage. Resource monitors are only there for, I did not check your ping. Resource monitors are only there for compute credits, not for storage credits. Okay. So you cannot limit the expansion of your storage. It can take whatever you want because storage is cheaper than compute power, right? So they did not put it on nothing. Okay. So activate your DO mobile for the first time, and then this is what it is. So there are some of the options that you can use when you're trying to set up MFA. So I now the MFA has been enabled, right? I'll say -c def. I don't know whether I have. So my account was expired. I'm not sure whether I have used it. No. No. I'm changing. So this is not updated in my config. Hmm. See, it's waiting for MFA approval. I would have already got a push notification. I'm trying to open my DO app. Request waiting, tap to respond. I got a push notification again, and the account is JA06. For my account.s modem with my username. I approved it. See, automatically. I did not do anything. Approval. On the system. Okay. And this particular thing can, so whatever, so whenever you are trying to, this MFA cannot be enforced by a role. It has to be enforced by user basis, per user. Okay. Multiple users can log in with the same phone number, because if you are working in a support, right, then people will share the same phone number. Then you can use that. You can disable the MFA, you can enable the MFA. So where did we enable the MFA? So we went to the preferences and we have enabled, enrolled or enabled the MFA. But we cannot disable from the web UI. That is a drawback of it. So if you want to disable, you have to use SQL command and to disable it. You cannot disable from the preferences. You remember that. So how do we disable? Alter user username, set disable MFA is equal to true. Then the MFA will be gone. Okay. And minutes to bypass MFA means the moment you log in, it has to wait. So the request has to be sent to your push notification. You have to approve and all this stuff, right? There is a timing. If you want to increase the timing or decrease the timing, you can do that. That is what it is, minutes to bypass. Okay. Specify the number of minutes to temporarily disable MFA for the user so that they can log in. After the time passes, MFA is enforced. That means after 30 seconds, after 1 minute, then until then you cannot log in. It will, because you have to propagate the communication, right? It will wait for 30 seconds or 1 minute, and then the MFA is enforced. Then you have to do all this work. After the time MFA is enforced and the user cannot log in without the temporary token generated by the DO mobile application, the app or something. So disable MFA that we have seen, right? Disable. Using MFA with snowsql. Whenever you are trying to log into snowsql, I just logged in and it was waiting for MFA circling, right? You can pass the MFA passcode or MFA passcoding password. Which one can you get ready? See, whenever you minutes to bypass MFA means the moment you have this by default is 30 seconds or 1 minute. I don't exactly know that. So what it means is, right, the moment MFA is enabled, you are giving some time for the enablement of an MFA because people cannot log in instantly. You give a time of 1 minute. So until 1 minute, you cannot log in because the push will come, and after the push, you have to accept. And if the time is 1 minute, also you cannot log in. After that 1 minute only, you'll be able to log in using the passcode or anything. So you are giving some buffer time for your communication. That is called minutes to bypass. Clear? For the communication to happen, so if you say 30 seconds, until 30 seconds you cannot log in. You, even though if you enter your username, the passcode or push notification, everything, after 30 seconds only it gets validated and it will let you into the system. That is the time, buffer time, because for the communication and all this. Okay. And then, so while connecting to the snowsql, how did I connect to the snowsql? I said -c dev, right? There itself I can use -mfa passcode, passcode in password. That means you can enter your password joined with the passcode. So whatever the password that you have set it up for your account, and then the passcode that you see, for example, ABC123 is the password. Then you can enter ABC123, and when you open the DO mobile app, you will see a number that gets generated every 1 minute, right? You enter that number together, that is passcode in password. Okay. When you are trying to connect to JDBC, you can give this username and passcode. And passcode in password is on, you can give them. So passcode string that you generated passcode. Passcode in password on, then password and passcode are concatenated in the form of password string and passcode string. I told you, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then this one. The same with ODBC also. Password or password on, and then even with Python. So you can use MFA with Python, with ODBC, with JDBC, with snowsql, and all this stuff. This is a Snow Pro question. how can we which particular languages can use, and even in Java is JDBC. Python you can use this. ODBC also you can use. And so NoSQL you can use. Okay. So how do you use role value alter user test model disable object disable MF, right? Disable MF right? So I'll say quit. So when I connect one more time, see now it did not ask you for the MF. It's all good. Okay. And then federated authentication. This is what the single sign-on that I was talking about, right? So you can have, these are the third-party provider that I was talking about. We should have a service provider and an identity provider. The service provider, through you log in, whenever you log in to Snowflake, it directs you to the identity provider like Okta, Microsoft Active Directory, which can be installed on premises or anything. These are the third party, like Google G Suite, Azure Active Directory, One Login, Ping Identity. You can use any of them. These are all paid ones. You cannot sign up with Gmail and then make it work. Okay. So logging into Snowflake, logging out of Snowflake, these all supported workflow. So system timeout due to inactivity and all this. Okay. So how do you Snowflake initiated login? You can log into the Snowflake using two. So where you have the Snowflake URL, you log in from there. It takes you to the third-party identity provider, and it gets validated there, and it gets you back to the Snowflake account. That is one thing. The other one, you can directly log into service provider like Okta, or Active Directory, or Google G Suite, one any other third party one. They have this. Once you configure your IDP there, right? It shows you what are all the URLs that you can log in through that particular identity provider. And Snowflake is one of them. You go click on that Snowflake, and it takes you to the Snowflake URL automatically, to the URL that you want to connect. So that is IDP initiated login and the Snowflake initiated login. So the authentication is successful. It's a this is like SAML, SAML. There is, once the identification is successful, and then it sends out the communication between the identity provider and Snowflake happens using security assertion markup language. This one language. It sends out a request to Snowflake that it's validated, and you can open the URL to initiate a session and display the Snowflake web interface. To log in through the IDP. So this is for the IDP initiative. They have their own. From there you can go and then log in, and then from there. Still, this IDP sends a XML communication to Snowflake where it opens the. So this setup is little complex, and I don't have the any of the third-party things which I can sign up, right? I'll surely set up, and once I'm done, right, I'll send out a communication to you guys. You can join the class and then go through this. I'll give you all step-by-step scenario, and then I'll try to do it with this one, Microsoft Azure Active Directory, and then I'll show you how can you. Okay. And then the next comes, now we have looked at the network policies, security, and then the next one is authentication security. The third one is access, right? So this is the one that we talked about. Object security. So object security is the one that we are talking about. Object security basically comes with role-based. There are two types of object security. One is DAC, the other one is RBAC. And you see this DAC and RBAC in your job requirements or job description, JDs. So what is DAC and what is RBAC? So we're going to talk about these two things. And then, so DAC is nothing but discretionary access control. That means you have logged in to HTML. You have created a table. Okay. And then you are the owner of the table. You have the privileges to grant permissions on that particular table to somebody else. That is called discretionary access control. Each object has a owner who can in turn grant access to the object. They can give privileges to the object. And role based, that means you set up permissions on a particular object and grant it to your role, and the role can be granted to a user. When it comes to Snowflake, Snowflake strictly follows a role-based access control. All the privileges on any of the objects are given to the roles, not to the users. If you are familiar with any databases, right? In the database environment, you can grant to a role and you can grant it to a user. Most of the time, its user has a preference there in the database. And roles, they normally don't do it to roles first. They get directly grant to the user, and then roles is kind of secondary thing. Here, Snowflake strictly enforces that you grant everything to a role, and the role is granted to a user. There is no privilege that is directly granted to a user. Period. Got it, guys? So that is, so DSC RBAC. You both now you got to know, right? The fundamental thing is Snowflake. All the privileges on any objects are granted to a role, not to any user. Okay. You create a role, grant all the privileges to the role, and then you grant it to the user. Okay. So what is a securable object? So that means what can you grant on, what are the privileges that you can create upon, and all this stuff. Securable object is the one which you can have privileges upon, right? A entity to which access can be granted. It can be a role, the role can be a user. So I have an example of, so these are the securable objects. Every securable object is a logical container in the hierarchy. It can be user, role, warehouse, resource monitor, database, schema, and table, view, sequence, stage, file formats, pipes, UDFs. These are all the securable objects. And the topmost container is the customer account. Account is the one. You can grant privileges on the account as well, within which you set user, role, warehouse, and database objects. So these are all the account level privileges. If you want to create a user, that's not a new, but if you want to create a role, it's not. But warehouse, resource monitor, database, you want to have account level. Every securable object is owned by a single role, which is typically the role used to create the object. When this role is assigned to users, they effectively share. The owning role has all the privileges of the object by default, including the ability to. So there is another thing called ownership here. So if you are owner of that particular object, you can DSC comes into picture. You can grant privileges, and you can transfer the ownership. For example, I created a table in employee in account admin. I can transfer the ownership from account admin role to sysadmin role. And sysadmin can privileges all this stuff. But by default, there is a role hierarchy as well. So account admin, and we'll talk about the role hierarchy, but this is what is a secureable object. And you know what is the role to which you can assign a privileges, and privilege is the distinct. So this is the access part of it that you are trying to assign on a particular object and user. So role one, this role one owns object one. For example, sysadmin is a role. Sysadmin, what are the tables that you created in sysadmin? Sysadmin is the owner of it. So sysadmin owns the object. Example, it might be a warehouse, it might be a table, it might be a stream, it might be any object in that particular database. It might be a database, it might be a schema, and on that warehouse you can create a privilege and you can grant that privilege to your role. Okay, and you have another object, you have a privilege like a table, you can grant it to another role. So this is called role hierarchy. You can role one can grant up privileges to role two or role three, and then in turn they can grant it to a user. So at the end of the user one has this role two, and you can have multiple roles to the same user, user one, user two, as role two and role three, and user three has only role three. Okay. So privileges, ability to create a warehouse, ability to list tables, ability to add data. So you know privileges, right? So what are the roles? By default, Snowflake has the 5 default roles. One is account admin, the other one is security admin, the next one is the user admin, the next one is public, sysadmin. Okay, close here, right? Which role? You'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the default roles that are provided by Snowflake. Okay, that means every Snowflake account will have this, and then public is for everybody. If you grant anything to public, anybody can access in the entire account. So user admin, you can create roles, you can create users. So previously there was only security admin, and then they wanted to share the responsibilities of security. So for example, you might have a junior DBA and senior DBA. Senior DBA can manage, modify the permissions given to a role or permissions given to a particular user or privileges given to you. But if you want to create a user, if you want to create a role, that is a different job altogether. So whenever you're trying to set up a user for the first time, you create user, you create role, and you have the default options and all this. So they bifurcated this responsibility. Previously, it was only you have to log into security admin and then create role. And if you want to modify the role, if you want to modify a user, everything is through security admin. Now they have divided the roles. You have the user admin, which can create users and roles. And then public sysadmin is the one which manages the entire databases, roles, schema, everything is done with sysadmin. Security admin, users creations, modifications, and then the other part of it. If you're logging, so these are the, if you see these are the tabs, you can create users, you can roles, you can create policies, you can look at the sessions that are part of it. But if you want to kill the session, you cannot kill the session. You can look at the sessions and you can create resource monitors. You can create those. So these are the tabs that are available for security. Okay. And if you switch to user admin, right? There is no tab here. You can using user admin, you can connect and create role, modify role. That's it. Okay. Account admin is a super user kind of thing. And then this is the, if you go back, right, this is the hierarchy. Can you see this thing, right? Account admin is directly you don't have anything. Account admin is the combination of security admin to and sysadmin. If you grab, so this is a role, this is a role. Underneath this is security admin, there is a new role. This slide is old slide. You have user admin here, and then security admin, and then public is given directly to account admin. So what happens, you know, right? Whatever you give it to sysadmin, whatever the privileges that are part of sysadmin are granted to account admin with grant option. What are the privileges that are there for security admin are granted to account admin with grant option. That means account admin as such has some privileges. Most of the privileges are given to account admin through sysadmin and security admin. This is the role hierarchy. If you grant a role to somebody, if you look at this, right, role, there is a table called C, and you have given the select privileges into role 2. And in the role 2, you have table B as well. You have select privilege for table B, and role 3 is granted to role 1. So now, because of the granting of role 3 to role 1, role 2, it will have the privilege to select B, sorry, select C here, and here select B and C here, and you created a select on table A, which is granted to user. So user can access table C, table B, and table A. This is the role hierarchy because you have granted a role to another role because of which it got the privileges to access it. Similarly, you have granted sysadmin to account admin, granted security admin to account admin. And similarly, security admin doesn't have the create user and create role privileges. There is a user admin that is underneath the security admin, and that user admin role has the create role and create user privileges that is granted to security admin. That is the reason security admin can also go and create a role, create a user. And account admin can also go and create a role and create a role user because the security admin role has been granted to account admin. Are we clear, guys? The role hierarchy part of it. Are we clear? Right. Actually, the class strength is very minimal. I have 4, 5 people, and then I'm just focusingly telling to you guys only, and then you guys don't even talk to me. So that is the saddest part. So I don't know whether you guys are able to digest or not. I'm kind of little worried. I don't mind if you don't understand or something. As long as I'm getting content, right, I'm happy with what. Okay. So coming back. So we talked about it. So security admin, you can create role, monitor role, manage user role. Manage means it can modify and all this stuff. So we public is a pseudo role. That means it has been granted to everybody. If you grant privileges to public, everybody can access that particular table or any object. Custom role, you can create a role like an admin or ETL developer or report developer. There are many roles that you can create custom role, right? You can create a custom role. Custom role can be created by security admin or user admin. Okay. Once the role is created, you can grant privileges or revoke. Granting means giving permissions on top of the object. Revoking means taking permissions out from the object. Okay. So This user admin I added it later because this slide was I have explained you the user admin part of it, and then we have spoken about the role hierarchy as well. And one more important thing, right? So whenever you create a custom role, you have to grant that custom role to sysadmin. The reason is, right, if a custom role is created and there are some privileges granted to the custom role on some objects, and that is given to a user. Okay, if that particular custom role is not granted to sysadmin or account admin, even account admin cannot access those objects. So there is some what do you call it, security enforcement here. So when you create a custom role and there are some objects that are accessible only to the custom role, you have created some objects, you have given some privileges to the custom role, and if you don't give that custom role to sysadmin or security admin or account admin, then account admin cannot even access that object. Even though if it is super user, it cannot. So it is customary the moment you create a custom role that will be granted to sysadmin by default. So when it is granted to sysadmin, automatically it is granted to account admin. So account admin will have the power and sysadmin can also have. So if somebody creates some objects, grants, and then he left the company, and if you don't give it to sysadmin and everything, right, then it's kind of difficult. Okay. So you have to make sure the moment you create a custom role, you have to grant it to sysadmin or account. Okay. That is pretty much. So we will call it a day. I'll send out the details of the resource monitors and the dates and then the security part of it. And we'll try to have some time in the week. This time I'm pretty sure I just want to cover the security and user management. I want to cover the whole thing in 2 weeks. And if you guys want to start marketing yourself with the right time, you can start working on your resumes. So, and after the security, right, I'm going to talk about this one. This takes 2 days, one day in the weekend. I'll try to finish in 2 weeks. The goal. Let's do that. Okay. Let's catch up sometime in this weekend. Okay. I'll send out a communication. Cool. Good. We'll catch up. I'll send out a communication. We'll catch up. I'll send out the details of this particular. Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir.
No problem. Thank you guys. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.